Well, we spent a weekend in a cornfield in Iowa with a couple hundred of our best friends. I think we've got a lot to talk about today on here on Unverified, the 20th episode. I can't believe that. Hi, I'm David Land. You guys might know me from my YouTube channel called David Land. I'm also here with Tony Donohue from the podcast called the Tony D Podcast, and we got Kyle Cuthbertson from Parts Unknown. I don't know. How do you want
Unknown.
to? Yeah, okay.
From I'm David Ayer.
David Ayer, that's right. Well, we tried. I talked to Renus a couple of times this weekend, and we were trying to figure out who David C is. We haven't yet figured out who David C is, but when we do, we're gonna figure it out. So maybe David C is still coming. So I don't know. Hi, Tony.
Hello, David. We had a wonderful weekend in Iowa on many different levels. The racing came in. Miles Rowe won his first race. We were all happy to see that. The crowd sucked, bare minimum type of stuff. We're going to get into that. We've already got a lot of comments here on the Unverified channel, so thanks for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. But boy, man, Uncle Danny said it best. You know, they should take all the drivers to the crowd for the autograph session and have them just sign everybody's autograph right then and there where they're sitting. It was an embarrassing crowd. There is no other way to put it. There was not promotion of this race. Barely any in Des Moines, barely any from the racetrack itself due to the fact that Penske Entertainment basically rented out this track for the doubleheader. We did see, as David pointed out in his video yesterday, we did see old school Iowa racing. Pato Award gets the first win for Chevy on Saturday, early evening, supper time. Sunday we came back, and Alex Palou did Alex Palou type of things. But boy, I think there's going to be a lot of ripping in this episode. I think we're going to be talking about how great it was when Hy-Vee did the promotion of this race, and really it was a concert that just so happened to have a race attached to it the last couple of seasons. But I'm fired up for it because as good of a race as that was, I think if you're IndyCar, there's no other word to describe that crowd than embarrassing.
Does it really count for Chevy to win a race if no one saw Chevy win a race? That's a little bit mean, but I don't know. I don't know if we want to get into like the Hy-Vee discussion yet.
Let's talk about the racing itself.
Well, I feel like there's a point to be made about the promotional aspect of this race and kind of where the missteps were made. But yeah, I thought, as I mentioned, and I think a lot of the drivers mentioned, and actually I think I had a YouTube comment. I don't know who it came from, but someone told me it was either in the video where I kind of discussed silly season a little bit, or if it was the video that was about the tornado. Somebody mentioned that they'd watched recently the 2008 Iowa race and how just after a year of the harsh conditions of the middle of nowhere of Iowa, the track was much racier the second year of its first repave in 2007 to 2008. So I kind of went into this weekend, still had my expectations tapered quite a bit. I was like, okay, it's probably going to be bad. And if it's not bad, then it will have exceeded my expectations. And I think by the end of the first race, we had a pretty good idea of what the second race was going to look like. Was it totally old Iowa? No, because I don't think the tires degraded nearly as much as they used to at Iowa. But you had a second lane, you had passing, you had battles for the lead. I thought that second race was great. And the first one was a little bit boring, but the first one also rubbered the track in so that the second race could be good. So I don't know. I mean, I was happy to see Pato get a win. I thought that was cool. I think that's good for the sport anytime he wins. I wish it would have been in front of a crowd that was bigger than the average audience of one of my YouTube videos. But, it is what it is. And what's up?
They wish.
Well, yeah, they do. But, it is what it is. And then the second race I thought was just a damn good race. Really, really exciting, compelling, comers and goers. The Joseph Newgarden back to the front saga was awesome to watch. David Malukas looking like he was going to get his first win and didn't. And then it ended up being the Ganassi Honda show that we've been so used to this season. But I thought it was, I thought from a racing product standpoint, I thought it was way better than I think we all worried it was going to be going into this weekend. And, If they go back to Iowa, and we'll get into that discussion, I'm sure at some point tonight, I think there's hope. I think there's hope that there will, you can put on a good show. And to your point, Tony, it's just going to be about promoting it, putting it in the right time slot, and making it feel like a big event, even if you don't have concerts.
Yeah, we'll talk about the time slot because I've been calling for years for this race to be, if you're going to do two, why not try one on a Thursday night, All-Star week, which the MLB All-Star game is going on tonight. There's really nothing else the rest of the week. The ESPYs might be on tomorrow. We'll get into that. But sticking to the racing, man, David Malukas did the same strategy on Sunday that won the race on Saturday for Pato Award. Came in earlier than the leader, and if it would have stayed green, I think David Malukas would be talking about winning his first career race. Awesome to see Pato Award win. Obviously, the most popular driver, as we've rumored on the show, it is more than likely that they are going to Mexico next year. Pato was very excited after the race. We didn't get to ask any questions, but luckily I did a little selfie walk with him. So I hope fans enjoyed us talking about that, because I thought it was interesting that he ran the fastest lap of the race on the very final lap, on lap 275. So it was great to see Pato win. You don't really get to celebrate that Saturday night win because it's hit the reset button, come back to the track the next morning and do it again. And then you called it, we saw a bit of a crash fest on Sunday. I thought it was racier than we all expected it to be. I mean, Christian Lundgaard told me in Mid-Ohio this is going to be a boring race. With that being said, different strategies. The field was totally flipped on that last caution. We did have a red flag on Saturday as well with Nolan Siegel, and we hope that he gets well. We learned that Linus Lundqvist will be the reserve driver. They're going to look at Nolan on Thursday. They're going to evaluate him, and if he can't go, it will be Linus Lundqvist. But then, it was a great race until it was flipped, and you're thinking, okay, Lundgaard, who's had a shit weekend, is all of a sudden going to have a great result. Connor got totally screwed out of that sequence. Joseph, David Malukas, totally screwed out of a good day with that. And who does it favor? Mr. Really Lucky, really good. Sometimes you're better lucky than good, but he's been great all year, and you got to have some luck. And Palou gets it done in race number 2 on Sunday. Kyle, before we get to you, the rating was 719 on Sunday. That's about where IndyCar should be. Like I mentioned in last week's show, they're not going to get over 1 million for the rest of the year. Maybe Nashville. Maybe we see Nashville over 1 million, like 575,000 on Saturday at supper time in the summer. That's really tough. But I think 719 is probably the norm, should probably be the bar on where it is. And then on the way home, Dave and I got stuck in a major traffic jam after I stopped at the world's largest truck stop. The Juncos Hollinger Racing Stingray Rob transporter caught fire. I don't think that they were shocked by this. That's something that we can discuss off the record later. The transporter is fried. I know, David, I think you heard that possibly the car is fried. The latest that I've heard in this is that Andretti Global, shout out to Andretti Global, despite the fact that they had a crap weekend, blown tires, crashes. Kirkwood had a crap weekend. Marcus Ericsson had a crap weekend. Colton was nowhere close. Shout out to them, though, for lending Juncos Hollinger Racing a transporter to at least get this weekend to Toronto coming out.
So a lot of, as you know, anytime you see, and we all saw the transporter, actually, because the entire industry, what's so unfortunate for Juncos is the entire industry was driving past that scene.
Yes.
Everybody saw it. Everybody took their pictures. And of course, what happens in the racing industry when people start seeing things? Wild rumors start.
Yep.
By the time I got past there and I checked with some people afterwards, the damage isn't nearly as bad to like the equipment itself as originally worried, I think, by a lot of people, which is good news. But as you mentioned, which has been really cool, is a lot of the paddock has chipped in to help Juncos get to Toronto, because of course Toronto's one of the more difficult races logistically for the teams as it is to get to. And it's certainly difficult when your hauler burns to the ground going home from Iowa. So, yeah, that was a rough weekend, especially for the 77 car. You crash early, and then the damn trailer catches on fire going home. So, we're definitely thinking about the boys and girls over at Juncos Hollinger, and at least I'm looking forward to seeing them at Toronto, hopefully to have a strong bounce back weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Kyle, your thoughts, what we saw this weekend racing-wise, doubleheader, and then we'll just absolutely unleash on how embarrassing that crowd was.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see too much of the races. I was working at in Quaker City in Salem, Ohio. But from what I saw, it was a lot better than we thought it was going to be. I saw a lot of people not pessimistic before we were even pessimistic before the race on what this race was going to be. And yeah, I think it ended up being pretty good. I think I predicted me and David. I think David had too predicted Pelot to win one of the races. So hey, we got one.
I
That
have
was so
Pop on
hard to
one
predict.
too, so I'll take that.
Yeah. So we hey, all three of us, we got one out of the two. Let's go. Yeah.
50%, baby. We still failed.
Yeah, we still failed. Yeah. I didn't actually see the crowd until Tony posted a picture of it on Sunday. Kind of lead into that. My opinion.
Grid, Kyle. I just wanted to. I had a nice shirt on from the shop. I was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
Dave, take my photo. I'm feeling good."
Don't throw me under the bus.
It's been a great weekend. I had incredible coffee cake French toast from Honda. I was feeling good. I was talking to people. It was great. And then I was like, you know what? Let's just cap it off with a nice grid photo here. So thanks to David. David took that photo of me. I took a nice video of David run up and down the pit road there. We had a blast this weekend, Kyle. We wish you were there.
Yeah, man. I wish I was there, man. It looked like a good time. I mean, what's crazy about the crowd is, I can't wait to hear what your guys' predictions on the number is, but like the crazy part to me is that this whole thing is not a huge IndyCar problem, right? This is an Iowa issue. Like we go the whole season, like a week ago at Mid-Ohio, we were jam-packed. The damn pit lane pre-race was a zoo, shoulder to shoulder. So, I mean, I can't, it's just an oval problem. It's an Iowa problem, and I don't know how we fix it.
Well, look, I think one of your first fixes is if a track has lights, you run that thing at night, and maybe that moves some races to FS1 next year, which may not be ideal. But if there's lights at a track on an oval, you run it at night. And I believe David's the fact checker on this. Didn't CART used to bring in temporary lights to run at Milwaukee there in the middle to early 2000s?
They did. But as I understand it, when they did that Milwaukee night race, and they also did a night race at Cleveland, by the way, that year, 2003, I think it was, that the temporary lights at Milwaukee, at least if you ask the drivers, and we could have probably asked Ryan, I wish you would have let me know. I would have asked Ryan Hunter-Reay because he was on the grid. The drivers did not like that. They could not see. They did not want to be driving 180 miles an hour under temporary lights. So maybe we don't need temporary lights at Milwaukee.
Well, that was like 2004. We have LEDs now. I'm sure that the lights would be much better than whatever.
Sure, we figure it out.
Brought in. I mean, with that being said, look,
it's Wisconsin. It snows 7 months out of the year there. The temperature will be fine when we go there in late August. I guarantee it. It'll be fine. We'll be all right.
So I think when you look at this attendance, and obviously Penske Entertainment rented this racetrack, and Roger Penske paid the purse for both races this weekend. And what I said on the show 2 weeks ago after Gateway, I was holding Gateway that had only been like 1,800 tickets sold. And then I was told that's for like the entire weekend. It looked like that. It was like buy a seat, get the entire row to yourself. It was embarrassing. It was, like you said, David, did anybody actually really see it? I don't know what you can do with Iowa. Yes, you're out in the middle of nowhere. We stayed at an Airbnb on Saturday, and the guy's like, oh, I didn't even know IndyCar was in town this weekend. We were 20 minutes away. I'm booked for NASCAR in 2 weeks, but I didn't even know IndyCar was in town this weekend. I'm glad you guys hit me up to rent it out. If I'm Penske, and supposedly there's 1 year left on the contract at Iowa, so do you buy yourself out of it and just avoid the embarrassment? Or do you come back, do you fulfill the contract and just make that a Sunday race and run like 375 laps or 400 total laps and have it on Sunday? You could run this thing on a Thursday night. Like I mentioned, maybe you make it an as seen for TV. You basically would take a 100 Days of Indy episode and just do it live. Maybe Firestone or somebody wants to pay for it to not have commercials. You start talking to the crews, the strategists, you talk to the drivers, you go a little bit more behind the scenes, different camera angles, different onboard angles. and you just say, look, if nobody's going to be in the stands, well, we may as well shoot for a massive number on TV because we're running the track out anyway, and it doesn't really matter if people want to show up and buy a ticket at the door. If they do, great. Hell, just let them in at this point, because I think you could have went to the I-80 truck stop and gave away 1,500 free tickets to the travelers moving back and forth in the middle of Iowa, and it still wouldn't have made a difference. Like I said, it was embarrassing. And I think as somebody who follows this, as you guys do, what I saw in that bleacher and that grandstand, that's a fireable offense. Somebody needs to take responsibility. I know that the girl that was running it the last couple of years has now moved her attention to Nashville, which, by the way, Nashville tickets ain't looking so great either. And last year they did get a pretty good crowd. I mean, hell, what'd they give us, David? A stack of 500 GAs to give out to people along Broadway last year. So that's not really looking good. It is. Oval racing is great. I love oval racing, but as Graham and I and Graham Rahal and I, a lot of people talked about, people don't show up, and it's hard because every oval race is within driving distance of Indianapolis, and a lot of these times they're all stacked up. I'm glad that they at least moved Gateway to June, but boy, I tell you what, guys, there's no other word that I can describe the bleachers as embarrassing, and I don't know what you can do, but there was no marketing of that race whatsoever, and the only race that I could possibly see getting 1 million viewers the rest of the year is Nashville, because it's the last race of the season. However, the points championship is already going to be decided. So I hope that Fox promotes the hell out of it during late August baseball and during preseason NFL games, and maybe they can get 1 million. But that was dismal over the weekend and absolutely embarrassing.
Okay, wow, that's a lot. Let me throw a little cold water on this, because I think a lot of what you say is right, Tony, but I think we're missing a few key details. Number one, I think that, and I said this on the show last week, I think the biggest thing that I think promoters of oval races forget is that an oval race needs to be an event. It needs to be, you need to have a hook, a reason to go. Mm-hmm. And what is our biggest race? What is the race? The only reason that the series exists is an oval race that is an event. So I don't understand. What I still do not understand is why every oval race is not directly modeled as closely as you can to the Indianapolis 500. Where's our marching band? Where's our pageantry? Where's our sense and feeling that this is a big deal? We need to treat every oval race like it's a big deal. With Iowa specifically, one of the big issues that I see with this year at Iowa, and it's not 100% a Penske Entertainment problem, because Iowa's somewhat, or not Iowa, Hy-Vee's a little bit complicit in this because they pulled their sponsorship. But there wasn't a pivot from Penske Entertainment. I think that was their big mistake. And the big problem with this weekend was that this was a weekend totally designed to be one that featured huge concerts, priced for huge concerts. There were no huge concerts. And you were expecting IndyCar fans, who you also expect to go to Gateway, and you expect to go to Milwaukee, and you expect to go to Detroit, and you expect to go to Mid-Ohio, and you expect them to go to the Indy 500 and the Indy GP and Nashville. And all these races happen very, very close together. Then you say, well, it's not two for the price of one. You don't get two races for one ticket. You get one race for one ticket, and if you want to go to both races, you have to buy two tickets. We're not going to have the concerts this year. That's not Penske's fault, but they were ultimately holding the bag there. I think that a pivot needed to be made as quickly as possible, and they didn't make it, which is to take the doubleheader away from Iowa and put it at Milwaukee. That was the first thing they should have done, and I don't know why they didn't do it. But I think they just, I don't know what the thought process was of having this weekend structured the way it was, because it felt like it was almost set up to fail in a lot of ways. I know it wasn't. I know there was a lot of hard work put into it, but the end result is the grandstands were pathetic. Now, all of that being said, if what we keep hearing is true, and there is an extra year on this contract at Iowa, and IndyCar decides to see that out, I think there's still a way to save Iowa. The good news is, as long as NASCAR doesn't touch the pavement between this point in the year and next point in the year, we essentially have the repave problem solved, I would say. I think the racetrack's ready to go, ready to have a classic IndyCar race on it once again. Race 2 proved that. Another year of age in the pavement, a full day of practice without a tornado. I think we're going to be in really good shape for a great race if we have that. But I think you're overthinking it a little bit, Tony. I don't think we need it to be Thursday night. I don't think we need to make it a docudrama. I certainly don't think we need to have it on Sunday night. I think the paddock would riot if they had to stay an extra day in Iowa. But I think if you had a 2-day show, Friday and Saturday, have it be a Saturday night race, fully under the lights, maybe start at the absolute earliest, like the very end of dusk. And I get that at Iowa or in Iowa, that's like 8 or 9 p.m. local time, probably closer to 9. But I think if you had a late race, fully night, 400 laps, try to get some green flag pit stops going, have Firestone really bring an aggressive tire compound that has some deg, I think you'd have a really, really compelling race. You could have an event and give people a reason to go. And if you keep the ticket prices reasonable, have one race and have it be easy to get to and back from for the industry and for the Indianapolis and Midwestern market that is so crucial to IndyCar, I think you could have a successful race weekend. But right now, the ticket prices were way too high when it was a concert event. They ran all the race fans off, and then they were surprised when the race fans didn't come back when there were no more concerts.
No, it was certainly a concert that happened to have a race. I think your problem with Saturday night is, unfortunately, that's going to shift you to Fox Sports 1, which would probably kill the ratings. Are you willing to?
The rating was already bad on Saturday.
Rating was shit anyways.
Yeah.
The rating was already bad.
It was already bad. Yeah.
So why wouldn't you run? I mean, I think they're going to run it on Sunday almost. I mean, I don't think it's going to be – I would love a Saturday night race, but – you have a bad rating on Saturday night. You would make it even a worse rating by moving it to FS1. So if you don't care about that, then I guess you don't care about that. Hy-Vee did a great job, as mentioned, promoting it. Why don't we go back to what we did in 2011? Hell, if it's going to look like this, if you bought an Indianapolis 500 ticket or you bought a ticket to any other race, you get a free ticket to Iowa. And, yeah, they're going to get ripped for giving away free tickets. But, hell, as Kyle pointed out a few weeks ago, there's a bunch of Snap-on employees that are going to have free tickets to Milwaukee. This weekend, there was a bunch of Delaware Life employees. They sponsored Marcus Ericsson. Obviously, it's in the TWG family. They had a bunch of free tickets. You know, there's no perfect fix for this, but a Saturday night race on FS1, I guess that's the call. I guess that's what we have to do.
Well, hold on. Well, here's my if it has to be a race, if every race has to be on Sunday for Fox, then buy yourself out of the contract. Go to Homestead in March before St. Pete and run a Sunday afternoon race because there's no reason to go to Iowa. Give the teams a week off in the middle of the summer because if it's going to be nobody showing up and 500,000 people watching on Fox on a Sunday afternoon, why would you do that? Fill out the beginning of the schedule, get a faster oval on the schedule, do something in Florida, do it at a track that we know is going to put on a good show. That's probably what they should do then. If they're forced into a Sunday night thing, Sunday's not going to work for Iowa. It's going to be too. We got lucky. We got lucky that tornado came through there because it cooled it off. I mean, that could have been a terrible crowd plus 100 degrees and humidity. We got lucky that didn't happen. So if you're expecting the crowd to come on a Sunday afternoon, 6 hours away from Indianapolis, they're not coming back for that. So the only way you save Iowa is to do something or either go back to the way it used to be and just say, look, man, we don't care about TV. But if TV is the most important thing for this event to happen, then buy the damn contract out and go to a different oval. That's how I feel about it.
Well, I think the best point you made there was we need a faster oval. Yes, Iowa's fast, Milwaukee's, we get it. Like IndyCar is fast, but we need banking, we need speed. We basically another super speedway. I mean, everybody talks about going back to Richmond, which is probably going to happen. But damn it, Michigan, it's obvious that you can have two races in the same state. And Penske could probably get some play out of that. And, you know, and when you go back to marketing, guys and gals in here, it's bare minimum stuff. Like you go to a couple boys and girls clubs in the area. You go to a couple casinos. You go You go to some local TV, which I know sometimes that doesn't work, but you get an article in the newspaper. It's bare minimum stuff. Like, hey, what can we do to promote this race in the Iowa area? You know, I know I think the only thing they did was send Scott McLaughlin to an Iowa Cubs game. So I think you're right. We need faster ovals. And I guess we're just going to have to go through one more year at Iowa and hope people come out of the cornfields and actually show up.
Are we, though?
I mean,
there's 1 year left in that contract, so are they going to buy it out?
Is it cheap? I mean, how much money do you think they lost this weekend? I mean, is it cheaper to buy the contract out and go someplace you might be able to sell tickets? That's all I'm asking. I mean, and I said that I suggested this a couple of months ago, is that if you're going to do made for TV races like Thermal, then why not go to Fox and say, hey, can we get out of this contract? Let's go somewhere else where we can put on a show. I don't know that. Kyle, what do you think?
Am I the only one who thinks that, like, you know, so we talk about MIS a lot, we talk about Kentucky, and I mean, the Iowa is about, how far is it? 6 hours, 6.5 hours?
It's exactly 6 hours from Indianapolis. Yeah.
I mean, like, we talk about all these tracks, and like, is that not kind of defeating the purpose as well of like growing the sport? You know, when we have no races in the Northeast. You know, when we sometimes, you know, we even talk about Richmond possibly next year. You know, New Hampshire, Pocono, Watkins Glen. I mean, Watkins Glen's not an oval, but I mean, like, we have 0 races in the Northeast. So number one, if we're going to take a race away from Iowa, why don't we go to a market like the Northeast that are allegedly begging for an IndyCar race? We'll see if that actually happens, if we have one. But they're begging for one because they don't have one. But if we keep putting races that are safe within 4 to 5 hours of 465, then we're beating no allegations when we say that the sport only exists within 465, right? You know, it also just comes from better marketing.
But they're going to look at it and say, what can we do with Kentucky? Because our top markets on TV are consistently Dayton, Columbus, Louisville, Cincinnati, outside of Indianapolis. Oh, well, we obviously have fans there. That's why fans go to Mid-Ohio. They can drive there from Cincy. They can drive there from Cleveland, David's favorite city. They can drive there from Columbus and from Indianapolis. And it's
at some point, there's going to be too many, though, right?
Well,
like, I can't go to every race if I'm everyone can't go to every race within 4 hours of 465. Eventually, you're going to run it. I would much rather than try to bring back, say, like Phoenix, Newmarket.
Nobody would go to Phoenix. Nobody would go to Phoenix. That would be even more emptier than Iowa.
Well, but is it better to be in Phoenix for one race that has nobody and one race that has nobody in Iowa than 2 races in Iowa that has nobody? I don't know.
Same thing goes for New Hampshire, because then at least to the people in the Northeast who say we don't have a race, you at least throw them a bone rather than having one in Iowa in the middle of nowhere.
New Hampshire would be, like, if you liked Milwaukee, like, New Hampshire would be, it would be a great race.
Well, I mean, we're also subtracting the knowledge that NASCAR has kind of PJ1 that track.
Oh, did they? Okay, never mind. God, NASCAR, stop ruining all the racetracks. God almighty. I just, like...
So there's a lot of discourse as well, so if we're going to bring up NASCAR, there's a lot of discourse this weekend as well that I'm going to let you guys touch on, of NASCAR, you know, because they own the track. And this was basically a track rental, and NASCAR had zero help. They shouldn't, but like 0 help this weekend as well. You check the Iowa Speedway social media, it was as if a race wasn't happening at all. Like 0 help. And by the way, they're the reason that Richmond isn't a thing anymore. So
or Homestead.
Or like,
Michigan.
So when we talk about the oval problem in IndyCar, like, they're also a problem. Like, NASCAR is also our enemy in that way as well, and that they own the tracks.
Right.
High speed oval. I don't want to go to and Nashville. I don't want to go there and have the road course wings on there to slow them down, or the downforce. Let's rip these things wide open, especially when this new car comes. Let's show some speed. Let's show some sexiness. Let's show some sound, and let's get back to to some of the dangerous element that made this sport so popular in the 90s.
Where can you go, though? I mean, but to Kyle's point, it's all NASCAR owned except for Pocono, which everybody refuses to go back to.
I think I'm going to be honest. Like, we talk about Penske having poor marketing. If Penske is promoting 90% of the schedule, like, I, to get these races and promote them the way we would want them to or like them to, where's the money? Who's gonna pay for all this? How many races is Penske expected to pay for?
Penske's promoting all but 3 races, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, we're going, this weekend is the last non-Penske promoted race of the season. Well, who promotes Portland?
Portland.
That's a green saver.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't even know that. Wow, incredible. Look at me paying attention.
I
So,
think
okay, we got 2 Green Savory races left of the season, and so there's 4 races that Penske doesn't promote.
Mhm.
That's, and I think I said this on the show last week. No matter how, and I thought they did a great job with Iowa last year. This year they didn't, but last year they did. And I thought they did a pretty decent job with Milwaukee. I don't know, like, you look at it, and I think the big problem is they're just spread too thin. Like, you saw the day after Iowa's over, I noticed a whole hell of a lot more Nashville promotion yesterday and today than I have in a very long time. So I don't know. It just seems like they can only do one at a time, which is tough. I mean, like, I don't envy that. I'm not saying that they're wrong or like doing it because like you said, Kyle, there's only so much budget and there's only so much human capital that you can spread around to do it, right? Like, and we go to these races, it's the same people working them. And their staff, I mean, that's like, shout out to them. They're putting in the work, they're putting in the hours, but like, it's tough. It is tough to promote every race and to promote the series and almost every track that they're racing at. Someone's going to be the redhead stepchild. This year it was Iowa. Next year, who the hell knows? Who's going to promote Mexico City? Is that going to be Penske too? Like, and if that's the case, holy crap. Like, and that's what I worry about. I've said this with them taking over Long Beach. I worry a little bit about the promotion of Long Beach long term. Like, at what point do we kind of like forget that that's the second biggest race? That concerns me too.
Well, and I think a lot of people are saying, oh, well, Hy-Vee marketed better than IndyCar. Yeah, well, Hy-Vee poured.
They marketed a concert. They didn't market a race.
Well, I think they did market the race, especially inside of their grocery stores. But of course, they
one
did.
driver who doesn't drive that car anymore.
Do what?
They marketed one driver who no longer drives that car.
Yeah, I mean, they promoted their car that they sponsored. They're not going to promote an Arrow McLaren car. They're not going to promote. They're going to promote the car that they're sponsoring.
The Hy-Vee races are noted for the races starting, like for the pre-race concert having a smaller crowd, the race having a decently good crowd, and then towards the last 50 laps it would fill in. Now, I'm not saying that was a bad thing, but I think David's right. I think they promoted the concert. I think people were there for the concert. So it was great. It was fantastic. Something that everyone needs to take a page out of that playbook and maybe pay for a big name artist to come in and play at Iowa or play in Milwaukee to kind of bring in a crowd, because it is a good thing to have a bunch of people show up for the last 50 laps of your race, right? Because attention spans are shorter than ever. So when do you want them to show up to see what you're all about the last 50 laps? Hopefully,
will be the marketing tool for Mexico next year.
Let me say this about where I think we could probably, because Tony's really trying to blame IndyCar. And I think if there's one thing that you can blame them here for is that, I think my opinion is Hy-Vee was promoting concerts and they were having an employee benefit. Like, hey, we got all these free tickets, come on out. If you're an employee of Hy-Vee. Where I think the sport missed the boat was having all of these young people there to see Post Malone and Carrie Underwood and Ed Sheeran. And we didn't do a good enough job of connecting the tissue of saying, here's Pato O'Ward, here's Scott Dixon, here's Alexander Rossi, here's Colton Herta, here are our stars. Let's meet them. Let's try to, and I get it, it's probably tough with the artists to try to get them to do anything to promote anything other than themselves. But I just feel like we had to have been able to do more to try to get the drivers out there. I don't know. And connect them to those young people.
What did you want them to do? Come on stage with Kenny Chesney and sing a song?
Be a viral moment, wouldn't it?
Exactly. I mean, and this kind of goes back to some of the things that we've talked about. Like, if you're going to have these influencers, you're going to have these people come in that you put in a two-seater. Like, they need to be posting on their social media leading up to an event. Like, if you're going to have said concert or said movie star or whoever you're going to have do, like, let's get some promotion leading up to a race, because posting something the day after or after the race does no good for the sport. And look, the concerts were great, and that was a lot of fun, and it got people there. But like you said, it's the same problem we have with the Indianapolis 500. It's like, you have all these people that go to this race. How do you get them to pay attention to Detroit the next weekend? It's the $15 million question, I think, inside of the sport.
Well, so here's the thing about influencers. I've had a few conversations recently, and I promise the influencer conversation will be quick. The people who actually like crunch numbers in the sport, like, if you talk to them, dude, influencers don't do anything.
Well,
like,
yeah, no shit, Chet.
Well, I know, but like we act on this show like they're important. They're not. So that's we shouldn't.
Important in their marketing budget. Alex Damron said in Racer that you're going to see more influencer marketing, because that's how we're going to grow and appeal to younger people. Bullshit. Give me some Legos. Give me a video game. Give me some diecast inside of a Meijer and a Walmart and a Target. It's not influencers walking around doing dances on pit road.
Okay.
Bullshit.
But okay. The problem is there's a confusion, I think, between influencer and influential. I Sheeran is influential.
Yeah.
And correct, the comments are correct that Ed Sheeran was willing to be involved. I guess I would say where, and maybe I missed it, but like, where was the viral moment aside from him waving the green flag with a Pato, with the Polo, something like that? I don't know. I mean, I feel like, and I get it. It's a very difficult ask. I'm not saying it's easy to do this, to get a huge top 50 artist and an IndyCar driver and get them to, get those two fan bases to cross over. It is very difficult. But therein lies the problem of relying on a concert to make a race work. Because once the concert goes away, the concert people aren't, without giving them a reason to, the concert people are not going to come back for the race when the concert doesn't exist. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, look, we've realized that getting a new fan to IndyCar is very hard to do. Sometimes it takes an Ed Sheeran or a Kenny Chesney or whoever was playing concerts. Sometimes, it takes, but like you said, you have to be somebody that moves the needle, I think, is the biggest thing that this sport needs. And I'm not saying go out and hire Richards or Gene Simmons or whatever. I'm not saying that at all. But if you're going to have these celebrities and these people with millions of followers, they need to be promoting the race. They need to be promoting what time it is. Going to somebody that's supposedly an influencer is not moving the sport forward. And like you said, David, this is IndyCar racing side by side. There's so many cool things that are in this sport. That's why the three of us love it. That's why the 218 people and then the two people bitching about microphone audios are here to listen to this. You're right. There needs to be that viral moment. Why aren't we throwing one of those, a Post Malone into, why aren't we recording? Like, a viral moment was Alex Rodriguez in the two-seater just screaming, having a great time, talking about how fun and how fast and how crazy that was. Like, you need to create those moments, because we live in such a social media era that's what's going to go viral on the TikToks and the Instagrams of the world, to get people to say, holy crap, these drivers are badass. I can never do that. They're going side by side into a corner, and the people that I like on social media and that I follow, that I come back to watch, I don't just see one time, are talking about.
I don't know. I mean,
it's exhausting. It's so damn exhausting.
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like, something that was pointed out to me quite a few times in my comments were Knoxville, which is not very far away from Iowa Speedway, didn't have any problem filling up the grandstands this week.
I believe I mentioned something like that earlier this year, probably in like episode 10 or something.
That Knoxville would be better than, yeah.
No, I think that we should collaborate with Knoxville in an event. You know what I mean?
IndyCars on
think-
dirt. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we should do that. Hey, just like the good old days, right?
And maybe I was in the wrong here, right? Because I talked to Christian Lundgaard of Mid Ohio, and he talked about how boring the race was going to be. I'm not saying that made people not go, but when you start hearing drivers saying, "Oh, Iowa, it's going to be a dud," that doesn't spark the fan interest.
Well,
Drivers are too honest. I love them for it though, but.
yeah, but the drive. Oh, but now we're going to get back into this. I feel like we've talked about this before too. I don't think it's the driver's responsibility to they're not the marketing department.
Well, they are when they get out of their cars at thermal.
Well, that's true, but they're not. I don't think there's the drivers. We can't have it both ways. Either we want the drivers to say what the hell's on their mind, or we don't. And I don't know what's better for IndyCar. I think what's better for IndyCar is that they say what's on their damn minds. But I don't know. We get into the spiral with IndyCar racing where it is. Unfortunately, it always seems to spiral into all this negativity all the time. And I had this thought a couple of times this weekend and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing or right or wrong to think this, but sometimes it kind of feels like we're doing a Mid-Ohio or an Iowa, we're doing this because we're just trying to get back to May next year. And I wish that weren't the case. I wish
that's
it
just
did.
you.
Well, but I don't think it is, because you have a lot of we're in the paddock a lot, right, Tony? I mean, I don't know. It sometimes feels like we're just kind of going through the motions. We're not excited to be in Mid-Ohio. Now, I'm not saying we as in David. I'm saying just kind of the sense you get is that we're not excited to be in Mid-Ohio, or we're not excited to be in Iowa. We're not excited to be in Portland. We're just completing an obligation. And so I think one of the biggest things for me, with IndyCar going forward, is I just like to see some energy back. And I don't know how you get the energy back, to be fair. But I think one thing that lacks right now is energy and excitement. Because even if the Indy 500 is processional and it's boring, because in a lot of ways it was this year, we really didn't talk about. We did because we're sweaty nerds, but the general public didn't really talk about it all that much, right? So how do we get over that hump of we're going through the motions and we're going to this race, we're going to the next race. It should be more we're going to the next race, not we're going to the next race. We're going to the next race. I don't know how you get to that point, though. I don't know. Am I making sense? Am I just word salading right now?
All right, let me throw this out there. And I believe Don just said I'm captain of negativity today, or where's that comment at? Oh, Don Davis says Tony is a negativity magnet. Do we need, I know everybody, and this is going to be crazy, but hear me out here. We always talk about needing more races. How far away are we from maybe, hopefully, having 10 to 12 races that do become big events? Is that how you do it? Are we too watered down in the races that we have?
Two more or two less races?
Two less. I mean,
okay.
If this was a 10 to 12 race schedule, would that hype the energies for some of these races to be even more must see? Hey, I gotta watch Toronto next week. I only have 10 of these. They're big events. This is must see. The championship's closer now because there's less room for error. How far away do you think we are from that?
I would say look at the start of the season. That's not the right way. That's not the right direction. I don't think.
Yeah, we have a 6-month off season.
Start of what season?
The IndyCar. It's not. I don't think it's the right move to do less right now. I think you just. I mean, I think you could spread it out a little bit more for sure, but doing less, no. Because because the last thing I think we need is the whole season to feel like the first 3 months of the season. I don't know, Kyle, is that kind of where you're standing?
Oh, I mean,
run it through the end of August, jam them all together, and have a summer showdown.
I think we need more races. Rather than, I don't know. I think the whole thing on the season, the series, being kind of processional after the 500, waiting to get back to May is kind of, I don't know. I feel like some people do feel that way. But it's all mindset. I don't know. I certainly don't feel that way. But like you said, David, we're sweaty nerds. we need to bring energy back. We need to bring the energy back. And I think there's a lot of people in this sport who are really pushing for the right things and the right times. Like I feel like a lot of people do end up giving up after May. And then we kind of go through the motions of June and July, and then we all hate each other in August, and then it's over and we're sad. And then we sit there for 6 months and we debate what driver is going to what seat. And then we get all mad in January because there's no IndyCars, but the Rolex is happening. And then we get to February, and then, oh my God, it's IndyCar season. We're all excited again. And then we get mad that there's week breaks. But I don't know. We're in the thick of it all right now. We're in this is actually we're actually getting what we want right now, right? We are leaving Iowa, going to another race next week. And then I believe the week after that is Laguna, right?
Yeah.
We're going back to back to back after Mid-Ohio. And we only had 1 week off between now. Like, we're in the allegedly cool part of the season, right, David? So what do you think? What makes you think, where do we need to go? Where's this mood and energy coming from?
Well, the mood and the energy is just coming from, I think what we've been talking about, which is, the crowd sucks. Oh, the TV ratings are bad. Alex Palou's winning all the races. I think that's kind of an attitude that's being formed within the sport. I don't know how you fix that. Like I said, I think, or like you said, Kyle, I think there are beginning to be forward-thinking younger people beginning to kind of come to the forefront of a lot of decision-making positions in IndyCar racing. And a lot of us, I think there's 3 of us in this call right now. But I think there's people now who grew up with IndyCar racing in an era where it was real bad. You guys think it was bad, it's bad now. Boy, let me tell you about 2004, buddy. It was bad. It was real bad in 2004. So we're in objectively a better position with IndyCar racing than we have been in a long time in our lifetimes. So I really think it's just going to take an effort from the younger people right now who have a voice or influence, number one, and not influencers, I mean influence. And I think we just all need to kind of get together and push in the same direction. And that's tough. I understand there are a lot of egos in the sport, but it's also going to take some of the egos of some of the people at the top we're going to need some passion back. I think that's the biggest thing. I think we need to, and I don't think it's a lack of passion. I don't think there's a lack of passion in the paddock, but I think sometimes the passion can kind of be wrung out of you because right now the schedule, I think the problem with the schedule and why we kind of have this weird attitude that I've noticed is that, to your point, Kyle, you have all of the build up to the first race of the season. We have the first race and then nothing happens for a couple of weeks. And then we go to another race, and then nothing happens for a couple of weeks. Then another race, nothing happens for a couple of weeks. Then it's the Indy 500. And, oh, my God, we all feel like we're the biggest, most important people in the world. And then we go to Detroit. Crash. The dopamine has worn off completely. And then we get into the really busy part of the season where everybody's away from home, away from their families, away from everything in the middle of the summertime when it's hot and it's humid and it just leads to people being in bad moods. And then as we get towards the end of the season, again, things start to space out again. TV ratings falling off. All of this stuff happens. Many of the things that we're discussing on this show happen. Part of I'm sure us discussing all this stuff on this show is probably demoralizing some people in the sport. I'm sorry if we're doing that to you. But that's what happens. That's the cycle. So is it totally schedule related? No. Does some of it have to do with the way the series is structured and scheduled? Yes. I think I said this on my show or on the show a couple of weeks ago. I talked to some people who worked in kart in the glory days or whatever, and they rarely had back-to-back races or more than 3 races in a row. When they did that, they were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this." We're 5 or 6 races in a row here. So I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, and I don't know how to fix that problem. And I don't think the passion's gone from the paddock, but I think you'd see a lot more of a push to make a race like Iowa feel special and be exciting if it wasn't in the middle of a really, really tough stretch in the season. I don't know. That's just my brain just going all over the place and vomiting all over the screen.
And sometimes it's just really easy to be pessimistic because we see them do things. We see them try things that don't work or fail or aren't what we thought they were going to be. Or they write a check that they can't cash about when a new car is going to come out. And that's why sometimes it's just like, I don't know, I guess sometimes I just feel dumbfounded on how to move this sport forward. Hey, David, I wanted to ask you this. This happened over the weekend. I know we kind of mentioned it with Nolan Siegel. I didn't really hear much, but how close did we see maybe a Tony Kanaan or somebody getting into that race car, and why ultimately the decision was made to not start that number 6 car in Sunday's race?
Man, I don't know. I really don't know. It's always weird with McLaren. Sometimes there's always seems to be one story from one side and another story from another. I don't know how close, if that was even true or not. I know Marshall Pruitt had it. It would have been a really tall task for them to get that car fitted for Tony to get in it and drive. I had heard something about the leader circle maybe being a concern, or that car not starting the second race at Iowa, potentially taking them out of the running for that or disqualifying them from that. I don't know. I mean, it's weird. I don't know what the truth of that matter was, to be quite honest. I guess the one thing I will say is, number one, get well soon, Nolan. I think when you punch a hole in the safer barrier, I think we probably could have seen that coming, that was going to be the situation. And we'll see. I would probably suggest that if I was a betting man, we see Linus in the car this weekend, especially since they've announced him as the replacement. And ironically, I think, if I'm not mistaken, did we not have a replacement driver for McLaren here last year at Toronto?
Yes.
Yeah, Teo Pourchaire was called.
That was when Rossi hit the wall and hurt his hand, and they flew Teo Pourchaire across the pond. Yeah, they told Oliver Askew that he was an option, and then they flew a guy from across the globe instead of Oliver Askew, who was there on the scene.
Askew did a seat fit. That's how close they got. So that was a weird situation. But yes, so McLaren is used to this. If it indeed turns out to be the case that Nolan Siegel can't go, you hate to see it for that kid, because I mean, especially because the one thing that I forgot to ask him about the entire weekend, I feel really stupid for not asking him, was the addition of Kyle Moyer to his pit stand. And have you noticed the performance of that car has just gone straight up since then? I mean, it was a really strong performer at Mid-Ohio. He was slated to start 5th at Iowa. Who knows what might have happened with Nolan in that race? And that's a shame, because you mentioned Oliver Askew. This kind of reminds me a little bit of Oliver Askew. I know, bit of a different situation with why he's in the seat, but I digress. I mean, I feel bad for Nolan, because he was starting to really, I think he was turning a corner in his season.
If you're an IndyCar fan and you've never, I'm sure you've heard of Kyle Moyer, but dude, a quick dive on his career, man. Man, there's nobody, we talk about Michael Cannon a lot as one of the big names in the paddock. Kyle Moyer, dude, that guy, everything he touches, he's just got the magic touch. So many wins, everything, every car, he's won it all multiple times over a course of, I think the early 90s, late 80s is when he started, was on a team. I think he worked for Gallus Craco. Dude, insane career that guy's had. It's just everything and then you're right. Nolan, ever since he's been on that team, is just whoop, Fast 6 appearances, top 10s, bang, just what he needed. Incredible.
Yeah, and Nolan was pretty pissed on Sunday morning that he wasn't cleared. So we'll see what happens on Thursday before they get to Toronto coming up this weekend. We've got some people asking about some Dude Bros sources. David, you and I were in Iowa over the weekend. Again, we're kind of just waiting on willpower, but there was some rumblings of Kyle Kirkwood's future and what that looks like. Somebody had mentioned Penske. So I saw Kyle. So Sunday morning, I didn't know they were doing this, David. Maybe you did. Sunday morning, they kind of let everybody go out and do a systems check or something.
Install laps. Yep.
like install laps. So we had just got there, and I was walking around, and I was like, well, everybody's going out and bringing the cars out, so they must be doing something. So afterwards, once Kirkwood got front stretched, I grabbed him and pulled him away and said, hey, I got a question for you. This is what I heard. And how quickly do you want me to shut these down if I'm asked? And he explicitly told me that he wasn't talking to anybody about his future, and that he would do that. And anything that I hear would be, quote, total bullshit, because he's not talking to anybody at race weekends, and he's not talking about contracts until the season is over. So that was like a small little like bump of a rumor that we heard. But what else you got going on? And if I'm not mistaken, a big weekend for you coming up in your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I can't say specifically what it's going to be, but really cool opportunity coming up for Mr. Land in the land of the maple syrup. You guys are going to want to tune in when that comes out. I'll just put it that way. Yeah, actually, the biggest Dude Bro thing was just really the future of Iowa. And I guess kind of the revelation that, I mean, not a revelation, we knew it, we've known it for a while, that one of the Iowa race slots on the calendar is going to Mexico City next year. I'm feeling much more confident, by the way, in I heard 80% last week. I'm willing to go 100% that we absolutely see Mexico City next year. So if you're in the paddock, get your passports updated if you haven't already for Toronto. It's a good weekend to find out if your passport's in date. You're definitely going to find out at the border check, that's for sure. But yeah, I think the big question right now is whether or not Iowa returns at all, and what form it does take if it does return. It'll be one race if it does return, and if it doesn't, like I said, I think they're looking at options and opportunities at other ovals like Homestead or Richmond. Richmond's been brought up a couple of times, in fact, even by Doug Bowles himself, as one market that they'd like to explore. So we'll see. The other thing that I'm kind of interested in tracking down this weekend in Toronto is just kind of the status of that particular race. I know there's been a lot of rumors. I don't put a lot of stock in those rumors right now about where or where not, where Toronto might be or what series might be racing there next year. I know we've heard a lot about Formula E. I don't not believe that Formula E might eventually race in Toronto, but I don't necessarily think that totally means that IndyCars won't race in Toronto. What I do, I guess, know, or maybe could suspect, is that that's why we've heard the Watkins Glen drumbeat kind of start up, although I'm still a little bit skeptical of whether or not that actually happens too. And I think it would be contingent on if Toronto goes away, which I think is a huge if right now. Again, we'll probably have a better idea at the end of this weekend once the paddock gets talking, but I don't know. I mean, like, the schedule right now is the thing that actually seems to be having some movement in it. And quite honestly, as a content creator, as long as the driver moves all happen in the next 6 months after the season happens, that'll make David a happy puppy, because I would much rather have content through the entire year than have it be the way it was the last couple of years and have the entire silly season finalized by the end of July.
I want to give a shout out to really the team and Meyer Shank Racing, Marcus Armstrong. We joked with him. You and I have
the Oval Meister.
Yeah, you and him have a back and forth, because he wants more street courses and you want more ovals. He wants less ovals and more street courses.
He's never said less ovals. I'll give him some credit. He's never said less ovals. He just says he likes street courses. And he thinks I'm the biggest hater of street courses of all time. Hey, Marcus, I'm going to a street course.
6 straight top 10s for him. I think he's in contention to win coming up this weekend. I think Christian Lundgaard's in contention to win this weekend for the first time for Arrow McLaren. But shout out to Marcus Armstrong. He had a big weekend. Shout out to our boy Jacob Abel as well, finishing a career best P11 after a crap day on Saturday, wrecking out of the first race, bounced back, stayed clean, stayed on the lead lap, which is, at points difficult to do it. And we saw a lot of veteran drivers making mistakes and crashing, whether it was their fault or not. The rookie Jacob Abel, who, by the way, has had zero luck in 2025, came out strong. He was 11th, which was great for him. Renus was 12th as well. And now
it was a photo finish, by the way, between the two coin teammates. And Stymie Snerdley is making a gross assumption there that I negotiated a Canadian beer sponsor for Jacob Abel. Now, have I acted as Jacob Abel's PR guy before? I can't confirm or deny that. We're still in communication and discussing that. But Jacob, we cannot discuss this time if there's a Canadian beer sponsor for Jacob Abel. No comment.
It's funny. We talked about on the show a few weeks ago about like Miller Lite and Coors Light involvement. I know we ran into some fans of the show, some fans of yours, and his dad worked for Miller up in Milwaukee, in the Milwaukee area, and he talked about that he couldn't get tickets through Miller into the distributors for Milwaukee. So that was an interesting point. But I'll just say this. I hate to break it to everybody, but I don't think anything involving beer in David Land is going to be happening this weekend, unless somebody else is drinking it around him, which is certainly possible.
Poutine maybe. I've been told that I need to go find some poutine. So,
well, of course,
I wish I was joining David in Canada. I'm not gonna lie, because when we were in Detroit, I was mad because we could have easily just taken a night trip to Detroit and gotten dinner in like there. Nobody else brought their passports but me.
Oh, you mean Canada? You mean Canada, not Detroit?
Yeah. Well, when we were in Detroit, we could have gone to Canada.
Yes. Okay. There you go.
And I've actually never been to Canada. I've always lived about 4 hours from it. Just never been. Don't know why. We had the opportunity. The boys didn't have the passports. And I am going to Norway this weekend for the Route 66 Sprint Series, which is like a regional go-kart race.
Not that Norway.
No, not that Norway. But it is my birthday on Friday, and I get to drive a go-kart. I actually get to race, so that's cool.
Happy birthday, Kyle.
We need highlights on this show next Tuesday night, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do. Yeah. I'm only doing a couple practices.
We're going to start the show with the Kyle Cuthbertson highlight reel of go-karting on his birthday.
we need to play the I'm a Boss music, though. We got to do that, like the Kyle Cuthbertson return highlight reel. That would be amazing.
But I wish I was in Canada. It's a race I want to go to.
Amazing.
And street courses are my favorite. I'm like Marcus Armstrong. So,
what's the record for most amazings out of Alex Pillow's mouth? I think it's 5. Was it 5 on a question that I asked him?
You're the one counting. So.
Yeah, you're the one who's counting. I'll tell you what. I'm calling him Lightning McQueen the rest of the season. It's no longer Alex Pillow. He's Lightning McQueen to me. So he's gonna give me some personality. I'm gonna take that freaking thing into the end zone and run it out of the stadium. Lightning McQueen, baby.
Prediction this weekend. Who are we taking on the streets of Toronto?
I almost said Lightning McQueen. I think Colton won it last year. Colton's due.
I didn't even remember that Colton won it last year. I'm not.
Well, yeah, we were all at the Brickyard.
Hey, next week we don't have to talk about the TV rating because no matter what happens, it's going to almost be 100% increase.
It's going to be increased by probably 1 million. It's going to be unbelievable. Like Fox is going to promote. They're going to be like, we were up 10,000% in the TV rating. It'll be great. So, I think the street courses typically favor Andretti. I don't trust Colton's pit crew. I'm sorry, Colton's pit crew, but I don't trust them. And you know what? Trustworthy Andretti car there is. We all know it. It's that 27 car. Who God only knows what sponsor it's going to have this week. What's the sponsor? Are they going to bring the Honda back? Maybe, but I think it's going to be Kyle Kirkwood.
Hell, even worse. I was talking to Marcus Ericsson over the weekend. I think he wore his 10th different suit in 2025 from different carousel of sponsers. Kyle, who you got coming up this weekend on your birthday? Are we going to see a Graham Ray streets of Toronto win?
That'd be crazy. And they are, they have been fast on the street courses. Honestly, I think it's going to be a great weekend for Louis Foster. Won here in Indy Pro in 2022. I think the Rahal team, that 45 is going to be quick in qualifying, and we'll see what he does in the race. I don't fully expect him to pull a full Christian Lundgaard, but I think he'll be a contender. But Lundgaard's going to be good. But I think Colton Herta wins. I think last year, to David's point, we would have said, "Oh, I don't trust Colton's pit crew," but I think he's going to get it done at some point this season, right? So, and the Andretti cars are really good on the street courses. So I think he'll put it together. Like at Detroit, he could have won, should have. Even said in the press conference, Kyle Kirkwood even said in the press conference that, hey, Colton should have won this race, and we ended up winning it. So he's got to get one soon, right?
I predicted at the beginning of the season that Christian Lundgaard would get a victory this season. I think it coming up at Toronto this weekend. Obviously Honda, you talk about few mileage street courses, Andretti, yeah. But
Drivability.
Can Lundgaard get it done this weekend? I think this is his best chance to win a race all season. So I will go with Christian Lundgaard.
Okay.
We didn't talk too much. Allie just made a good point. Connor Daly this past weekend, you feel for him. Great car, was really good on the short runs, had a bad pit stop early on Saturday, was right in the hunt, was right in the mix. I thought Connor's results certainly weren't indicative of the way that he drove that Juncos Hollinger 76 all weekend.
Yeah, he didn't. I don't think he had race-winning pace, but I think he deserved podiums both days, and he didn't get it. The other shout out, I don't know about shout out. I guess this is the last thing I would put a bow on with Iowa, because we didn't really talk about it all that much. It's another terrible week for Penske.
Yep.
They actually brought Rick Mears back this weekend. I actually was in the credential line and I kind of like did a double take and I was like, oh, hi, Rick Mears. You're here. That's interesting. But yeah, Rick Mears was in the house helping the team out. And I quite honestly, I think they fumbled 2 race wins. I think Joseph should have won race 2. Actually, I think Scott McLaughlin probably could have won both races if he hadn't stuffed it in the wall in qualifying. That car was so fast. I mean, Scott McLaughlin was so fast in race 1. I mean, if he had started on the pole or even on the front row, he would have lapped the field. I mean, he was just on another. But again, to Penske's season, they have just been unable to get any kind of luck, even when they've got the speed. So, yeah, it's pretty wild what's happening with Team Penske right now. And it's pretty wild to me, and I get it's a street course. It's not something that typically favors Chevys or Penske's in recent years when they don't have a push-to-pass advantage, of course. I'm just surprised that we are just beginning to completely disqualify Team Penske from even like talking about them as a potential race winner week in, week out.
And I think some of the drama that's been stirring up is how Joseph is going to act towards the media. Obviously, he did do an interview with Jack. I saw him pull into his pit box Sunday, get out, take his helmet off, and was gone. As mentioned, he did come back and talk to Harvey. Saturday, after post-race qualifying, and he qualified on the pole, he was in a good mood, gave you and I great answers to the questions that we asked. But I'll say this. I get the drama. I get people wanting more. People are pissed off at Joseph. But I don't know. You know what? Here's the deal. Joseph can do whatever the hell he wants. That dude's won 2 Indianapolis 500s. I'll say what you said last week, David. He doesn't owe us a damn thing. And if he doesn't want to come out and talk and have his sponsors on TV like that, that's up to him. He's pissed off. I get it. I have had no problems with Joseph most of this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a story. It's drama. It is what it is. I understand both sides of it. I've said that the last couple of weeks on the show. I understand that people are upset that he's not talking. But as you said, Tony, it's his choice. And, and what's funny is if you watch the video that I put out on Saturday, I think it was Saturday, where I talked to Joseph because I think he finished 2nd or 3rd. And I asked him a question. And if you watch it just in that context, you go, man, that he kind of gave you a short answer. My answer was probably 3 times as long as he gave some of the other people in the press conference. So Joseph definitely right now is pretty frosty with the media. And I understand his reasons. You know, I'll give a blanket statement, even though I don't necessarily know if I fit into it. We've been dicks to him. And so I understand. I get it, man. I get it.
To your point, it was so funny because he did. There was a couple very, very short, even one media member got a 2-word answer. And then he smiled over at you and I when he answered our questions and answered them with, I thought, very good information. You and I were sitting next to each other in Iowa at the media center. I know you hated that. But yeah, I mean, there are certainly people that cover this sport inside of that paddock that he is not a fan of.
Yeah, Joseph's not talking to him, and they're just creating even more drama. I think that it's kind of sad. Joseph is a human being. These are people, right? Like they drive race cars, they defy death, and are basically providing us with entertainment. But these are still people. If Joseph's having a bad day or having a rough time, like you don't know what he's going through outside of the car. And I think give him some damn credit, give him some space, man. Like, you're not gonna, like, come on, what would you do in that in
But
his
people
shoes?
want to
Like, what the hell?
hear from the Golden Boy that Fox continues to promote, and you know what?
That's a good point. That's a good point, Tony, because I will say that I think that is the one thing that I would say, if you're looking at it optically, Fox has spent an awful damn lot of money promoting Joseph Newgarden, and he won't talk to him. That's tough. Where's the Kyle Kirkwood commercial? We're waiting on that. Come on.
Well, hey, write it up for him and send it out on Twitter, and they'll get it done. I promise you that.
Well, okay, I'll get to write. I've got about 3 other things I need to write before I do that, but that'll be number 3 thing. I'll send it to him. I'll DM it to him.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching here on Unverified. Don't forget to like and subscribe and send Kyle happy birthday wishes coming up this Friday. He finally turns 21. No, just kidding. We've been drinking for a few years together.
All the comments. 24, guys. I'm 20. I'm still young, but 24.
Yeah, he's not 32.
Yeah. They did.
Hey, how old are you, Tony?
Do what?
Never mind.
I'm 36, brother.
Ugh.
36. Thank you for watching. Yes, they did do the fastest man on earth marketing thing. Yeah, they did everything but put Nolan Siegel MF in the entire field, basically, back at Gateway. Trust me, guys, be tuned into David Land's channel. Make sure you subscribe. I'm sure you already have, but he's going to have some great stuff coming out of Toronto. We'll come back next week. We'll look back at Toronto. We'll look forward to Laguna Seca. We'll also talk a little Brickyard 400, I think, next week, being that it is here in Indianapolis where we live. But happy birthday, Kyle, for David.
I hear it's a cool place.
I hear it's a real cool place. We'll talk next week. Enjoy Toronto coming up on Sunday.